you, and before we start dealing with COVID and how things have changed and how you've changed things in the scheme, it's been said, just let me say that women are better communicators than men. And I'm not sure if you agree with that or not. And if so, how have you managed in your career as chairperson? How have you managed these relationships between trustees and owners and the managing agent? Because I feel personally that's the most important sort of part of all of this.
Well, let's just put it in retrospect. We do have a very good managing agent, no names. However, Marina, you came on board within a year of you becoming a very serious, highly regarded and well-respected sectional titles lawyer. And I found this very helpful. I used to drive you mad. So what we did, let's talk about Sandalwood. We decided we were running our own complex. By this point in time, there had been 2 amendments to the Sectional Titles Act. There was no POPI and there was no CSOS. So it was quite easy for me because there were wonderful people who teamed up with me and who had different portfolios, did their job well, and we met regularly. So we as a team molded very well. So we didn't have any difficulty with that. Where there were relationship issues, I'm agreeing with Marina, women are just more sensitive, more approachable and kind. So this was our personality as trustees, to be approachable, to find time, to be firm and to be fair. So in order to get it all done, you could book an appointment with us. It was from 6 to 7 every evening. If there was an emergency, absolutely drop everything to help. All of us trustees were working trustees, so we had to kind of fit that in too. I've always worked from home, so I guess I took the load, but I didn't mind. Trustee work can be extremely exhausting and also highly energized and extremely happy. I will tell you anecdotally a story where Marina had to rescue our complex. One of our owners, without telling us, only provided information that she was undertaking to lay tiling on the patio external on the common property. I happened to go away. We were then 5 trustees and the other 4 went away as well, but were coming back earlier than I. So what happened was when I got back, the trustees were in a complete state, didn't know what to do because the owner hadn't just tiled the external, she had actually virtually rebuilt the townhouse and had extended onto common property ground about 1.5 meters on one side and just under a meter on the other side. So I had a look at it and I went, Marina. So I called Marina and I said, when can you come? It's a disaster. I don't know what's going on. Nobody knows what's going on. And the owner refuses to listen to Sense and Sensibility while I've been away. I happen to know the owner very well. So there was a caution around separating friendship with that person whom I knew before she came to Sandalwood, and of course the business of running Sandalwood, which she completely understood. I decided not to be the intervention person. This was far too serious. Marina came on board, the pit bull, and she got it all together. She arranged for us to have certain rules and regulations around what was done. And in the end, this poor woman had to rebuild everything back to what it was at her expense. So I would say that was my most difficult experience. Finally, we came down to 3 trustees, which we felt was more than enough, 27 units and about 40 people, ranging from babies to in their 60s or 70s. We, because we adopted that kind of relationship where they knew they could come to us with their problems, so we used to do round robins, obviously on computer, but we had up close and personal trustee meetings. We had open trustees. You could come to any meeting. You could have all the minutes, no secrets. We had a lot of tenants eventually, 40% tenants. And Sandalwood became a highly popular investment property because it was very well looked after. It was in prime condition, beautiful gardens, and again, the gardeners were part of the team. So tenants were included. The only thing is that tenants couldn't vote, but they participated in everything. Huge respect for tenants. So by and large, the job, while it's very heavy, it's voluntary, and you do get so much moaning and complaining. I actually enjoyed my residency over the 29 years. And I found that being a woman, even though the majority on our complex were men, they actually preferred women to deal with all the issues, which I found very interesting and stimulating at the same time. So we were very comfortable as women because we were accepted. We had 3 men initially and 4 women. Then it came down to 2 men and myself. And they were always dumping on me. Okay, we're approachable, but we can't deal with this one. You know, it's too sensitive. We don't know how to handle it. And so that's how we did it. And it really was practical and worthwhile.
It did, and it worked. I know it worked in your scheme, definitely. I'm going to come back to you still. I'm going to flesh a little bit more out of that. But I know, Lynn Coleman, you've got some time constraints as well. So what kind of things, how did you deal, Lynn Coleman, with the COVID pandemic entering into your scheme and causing havoc? How did you deal with people, and how did you evolve in terms of holding meetings and communicating in that way?
Well, we were quite a small group, so there were just 3 of us when COVID hit. We were smack bang in the middle of a painting project, which had to be put on hold. So that was interesting. But what we then did is we moved online. So we took everything online with respect to the trustees anyway. And we set up, the painting project had sort of forced us to set up a notification, a WhatsApp notification. So not a group chat, just a notification platform. And we kept the residents and the owners informed of all the regulations and what needed to happen with respect to that. We relied very heavily on our managing agent, so Gail Phillips, she's in the room from Annette Lang, and they provided all the details with the CSOS guidelines, which we then passed on electronically to owners. I think you know, we had a very easy lockdown. There weren't that many issues. There was, you know, there was a slight issue around noise, because of course with everybody at home, you know, the kiddie chatter or the playing on scooters, which would be a once a week kind of occurrence when you were cooking your food, which is now happening whole freaking day. People's sensibilities or sensitivities were heightened with respect to that. So that was the only real issue, but we basically tried to stick and make sure that everybody in the complex was informed about CSOS regulations, and we tried to just be guided by that. We had our AGM, we did have an AGM during COVID lockdown, and we took that to Zoom. We also had a consultation discussion around new conduct rules, and we also took that to Zoom. And both of those two events were highly successful. And in fact, I think it encouraged people to participate in those sessions. So I guess in many ways we've sailed through COVID and the lockdowns in a relatively smooth way.
Well, that's fantastic, because I must tell you, Lynn, we've heard of so many stories about snitches and people putting people in boots to bring them into complexes and people drinking till all hours of the night. So it looks like you've come out of it pretty unscathed. And I was interested to see when we were talking before that actually you reckon that this is something going forward. And Alice, I want to ask you, how do you foresee things going forward in the next 10 to 20 years? Are things going to sort of just go back to you know, what they were? Or are we going to see a new normal in terms of how complexes are run?
Gosh, this is one of the questions I had difficulty with, because I've only been a trustee for just over a year. I don't know how it's changed before, and now with this COVID, there's probably going to be a lot of new norms, and I really don't know how it's going to be in the next 10, 20 years, but definitely, well, for us at least, online meetings are working really well. And I think more and more is going to be taken online in future, like Zoom meetings, etc. Otherwise, I don't really know. I can't foresee what other changes, if there's going to be other pandemics, if there's going to be other disasters, or time will tell, really.
We just have to kind of negotiate our way through that. But have you got a would you think that a smaller committee is better to be in a complex? Is it easier to run with a smaller committee, or do you think committees need to be bigger for more input?
I think that's relative to, I suppose, the size of the complex. I mean, we're 36 units. We've got 5 trustees, including the chairman, and I think it's a good number for us. I like an odd number of people, so that when we're voting on issues, there's never an even number of votes. There's always a deciding factor, because the thing with being a trustee is that you have to make decisions. Think them through, and but yeah, one of the things is you have to be very decisive, and otherwise things just never move forward.
Yeah, and it almost seems sometimes that there's always one person who actually gets the job, has to do the job, and quite a few hangers-oners. And Greening, cast your mind back to before CSOS came into the picture. Has the community scheme ombud service made it easier or more difficult for you, as in your experience as a chair lady?
I already had retired from the being trustee by the time CSOS came in, but I went through the initial discussions when it was.
And sorry, could you put your volume up a little bit? We still can't hear you that well. Just add it up if you can.
Fine.
Or just speak louder, come closer to the microphone.
Come closer to the mic, is that better?
Yes, that's better, thanks.
Okay, I'll try and speak up a bit. The CSOS Act only came into force after I had ceased to be a trustee, because I actually gave it up after I'd been doing it for about, as I say, roughly 14 or 15 years. Incidentally, something I left out, perhaps I should mention, when I first took over here, when we were partly built, there had been trustees, but there had been nothing like computers or offices or anything like that. They worked from their homes, and everybody kept little bits of paper at home. And when I took over, I couldn't find a lot of things. I eventually found the AGM minutes hidden under a stack of papers somewhere. But so I was actually involved with setting up the complete administrative function myself. And the only employee we had was a half-day bookkeeper. And for all the time I was a trustee, I ran the administration myself, everything except the accounts. And even when I was chairman, I still did all that. Anyway, that was just a by the way. What was the question again?